make my accounting firm IT compliant. I'm Isaac Westhuizen from Zero Cybersecurity and IT Support in London, and welcome to our channel. We would start, as part of a series, we would start looking at the actual workstations, whether it's Windows or Mac. These are some of the essentials you need to have in place to make sure you are safe, secure, and compliant. So if we had to draw out a network for a business, we'll start with a workstation. We will have hopefully a few workstations on your network. And let's say, for example, you have these workstations, 3 workstations, and we will be connected via wireless or direct cable to the internet. So here we have the internet. So what are some of the key ingredients when we are connected to keep these assets safe? Obviously, we have to have a password, have it password protected. Ensure you have a password. You can make sure you change the password on a regular basis. Special characters, have a password policy. Make sure you do your security updates at least every 2 weeks. If possible, even more frequently. We know we all hate it, but it's absolutely essential. The vendors are actually developing these to safeguard us. It's just as important as antivirus. Make sure you have up-to-date, activated antivirus, and you have some sort of alerting. What we also recommend, besides for security updates, we also recommend that you have an additional layer of protection, what we refer to as a IP layer, internet layer protection, that works alongside your security updates and your antivirus, called a ransomware protection. In the event where the identity of these ransomware sort of intrusions has changed and the antivirus is not up to date, you have an additional layer that gives you a protection on internet. So if there was any somehow, besides for the security updates, antivirus updates, they got access to your workstation, how ransomware works, it needs to go out on the internet and actually go and get an encryption key to come back and encrypt some of the files wherever you might have access to. So what the ransomware protection would do, it will block the reverse communication. So you might get infected somehow, which is not impossible, and it will block that communication. Always recommend an additional layer of security, an internet layer, internet protection, where they block the actual encryption happening coming back. Ransomware protection, we need to ensure that whoever is using this asset or workstation doesn't have, or it's regulated administrative rights. So we ensure that the administrative rights are removed from the day-to-day user to make sure that we don't accidentally install anything that might be harmful. So the administrative rights are regulated administrative rights. Now that we have a good idea on what is required on a workstation and how this fit into the bigger picture with an organization that might have files, emails, and how it all interacts, and what are the absolute essentials a business needs to have when they are scaling and when they have some of these components. So most of the organizations are familiar with Office 365 that will sit outside on the internet. Office 365. That will obviously include the applications for email, OneDrive for sharing files, and SharePoint. And Microsoft Teams. All of the applications that we are all very familiar with. And how do we actually bring this in and have this communicating and make sure that we have a proper, secure setup? So one of the typical scenarios or problems we are facing at the moment is that we are for each of these workstations, we have a unique username and password. And the other problem that we have is for my emails, I have a username and a password. So having one asset or one user, we already having a problem here where we have a username and password for the asset and a username and password for the actual emails. That is almost duplicating the amount of usernames and passwords. So what is absolutely essential for any organization is to get these systems to communicate together and actually bring in a form of a directory service that will service these usernames and passwords and actually connect everybody to communicate on the same channel. So meaning the username and password that I'm using to log on to my actual laptop is the same username and password that I use for my actual emails. We then might have an office network where you might have some resources that users have access remotely to, also referred to as VPN access. And some of the configurations, you might have an additional set of credentials to actually get access to some of the resources in the office. And you can see the problem that we actually face here is the fact that we have a username, password, username, password, username, password. And all of these usernames and passwords are posing a level of risk for the organization. So the best practice will be to bring in a directory service, also referred to in the IT world as Active Directory, that will actually provide a database for all these usernames and passwords. So, okay, directory. So all your usernames and passwords are in one single place. And this gives you features like single sign-on. So what does a single sign-on do? It all of a sudden communicates with Office 365. So meaning the username and password that I use to log on to my laptop is the same username and password that I use to log on to my emails, and essentially the same username and password that I would use to access my VPN. If we had a different file set in the office, that will be the same username and password that I access my files. Additional services. What's great about single sign-on is you can bring in additional services like Dropbox. And again, you have your centralized username and password that is managing the access, regulating the access, so you have regulated access. So what's great about having the directory services, you have a central point where you can actually go and set up password policies that will be for the organization wide. So if you have a policy that's changing the passwords every 30 days, use special characters, don't use passwords you've actually used before, that will be set up right here. And all of these systems will comply with this policy that you've set here. If you like this content, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, please comment below. Thank you.